Hello everyone and welcome to the DDA LTSS Maryland webinar. My name is Hema Puranam and in this webinar I will be walking you through the process to complete a CSQ or Community Settings Questionnaire for Day Habilitation and Career Exploration Facility-Based Services. Day Habilitation CSQs are required for the following day habilitation related services: day habilitation small group, day habilitation large group, day habilitation 1:1 staff-in ratio, day habilitation 2:1 staff-in ratio. A day CSQ is required for participants in the DDA's Community Supports Waiver and the Community Pathways Waiver. It is not required for participants in the Family Supports Waiver, as this program does not include meaningful day services. There are two DDA Community Service Questionnaire forms within LTSS Maryland, one for residential setting and one for day setting, which allows the Maryland Department of Health (MDH) and the DDA to determine whether the setting where a participant is receiving services have the qualities of an integrated community setting under the Federal Home and Community-Based Services Final Rule. For a residential CSQ, an individual must have a residential CSQ completed regardless of where the individual lives, and at least one address must be entered in the client's profile before a residential CSQ can be created. For a day CSQ, a provider address search must be completed to add the address to the CSQ. But a day CSQ only needs to be completed if an individual receives day services from a provider. All meaningful day providers for the DDA's Community Supports Waiver must have the qualities of integrated community settings. Some meaningful day providers for the DDA's Community Pathways Waiver have until March 2023 to be compliant. There are two ways to create a CSQ. You can create a CSQ within the person-centered plan, or you can go to the case management and select Community Settings Questionnaire. We will cover how to complete the CSQ both day and residential from the person-centered plan. The Service Authorization section of the person-centered plan allows authorized users to add and edit services in the PCP. The summary section of the PCP entails the client information, and it has the current address field, which is same as in the residential CSQ form. We can create a residential CSQ form after completing the summary section of the PCP when trying to save the information, and we can create the day CSQ form after completing the service authorization section. To perform any of these actions, follow the steps below. From the left side navigation menu, select the Programs tab and then select the POS PCP or SP link. From the person-centered plan, click on Summary. Before we go to the service authorization, we see that when we are beginning to create a PCP and we are ready to save the summary section, when you click on Save, you will get a warning message which reads, "The specified address to receive services, current address, does not have a residential community settings questionnaire form. Please complete a residential community settings questionnaire form for this address. Are you sure you want to continue?" If you wish to proceed and create a new residential CSQ form, you can click on Yes. If you wish to not proceed, then you can click on No. I'm going to go ahead and click on Yes. The residential CSQ form has the first piece of information, which is the client information, and then you're prompted to select the option that best describes the current residence. It can be a home owned or leased by the individual or the family member, an apartment with an individual lease with lockable access and egress, which includes living, sleeping, bathing, and cooking areas over which the individual or the individual's family has domain and control. It could be provider-owned or controlled housing or other shared housing. It is an exclusive choice available to the user. And if any unrelated individual receives services or supports in this setting, we can click on Yes with the description. The residence address needs to be selected. This comes from the client's profile. And you also need to select if the participant lives with the family and if it is chosen by him. There is more information that we need to provide. Once you have entered all the information and answered all the questions in yes or no, you can go ahead and click on Save. You get a success message that the record has been created. Now have the ability to submit the form or discard the form by using the Submit or Discard buttons at the top. Also, you have the Print button to print the CSQ form. I'm going to go ahead and click on Submit. I get a prompt asking attention. The result of this community settings questionnaire indicates that the address does not meet the definition of a community setting. Would you like to submit for review of the address so the Maryland Department of Health can either confirm or overturn the result? If you click on yes, you are submitting it for review. I'm going to click on yes. And click on submit. That will be sent to pending DDA regional program review status. And once the DDA regional program completes review, it will be recommended, or decision will be recommended. As you see, the community settings questionnaire form is now in pending DDA regional program review status. And I have logged in as a regional program supervisor. I do have the ability to request clarification for further questions on the answers provided here, or I can provide my decision by clicking on the decision here. With the additional information provided, does this residence meet the definition of a community setting? If the regional program thinks yes, it can click on yes after entering a comment, or click on no if does not. Now the status is submitted and the success message is displayed that the record has been submitted. Now let us look at the service authorization section of the PCP. From the PCP, click on the service authorization to expand the section. You are directed to the PCP service authorization page. The program type is displayed as a read-only field. Across from the monthly services section, select Add Service as it is applicable to the individual. Under the service information section, select the service category that is applicable to the individual. The selection made under service category, which is meaningful day, will generate the correlating service types in the service title field. Select meaningful day for the services category and then select the correlating service title, which is day habilitation in this example, from the service title drop-down menu option. Enter the frequency and scope. To add a provider, click the search button. A search window will be displayed. Please note that only providers with the category of service applicable for the selected service will display in this search. Click the search button to view the available options that match the search criteria. Click the select link in the action column of the provider that is applicable to the individual. If the provider does not have a current CSQ, when you click on the next button, a pop-up will be prompted to the user which says the provider location address to receive services does not have a community setting questionnaire form. Please complete a day community setting questionnaire form for this provider address. Would you like to be directed to a new day community setting questionnaire form for this address? You will have the option to select yes or no. Selecting yes will take you to the CSQ form list page. Selecting no will cancel the request. I'm going to go ahead and click on yes. Please note that in order to submit the PCP with the day habilitation service or career exploration facility based supports, a CSQ must be completed. the provider selected does not have one completed as shown in our example, then the community settings questionnaire needs to be completed. Since we navigated here from the person-centered plan, you see that the provider information is auto-populated. However, you can click on search under this provider information and filter the search by provider name, provider number, provider attribute, and county. We can search to see all the available options for the provider. So fill out the community settings questionnaire dehabilitation with. Next, we will fill out all the questions under the facility-based settings to determine whether the settings meet the community settings qualities. Remember, if there are right restrictions due to health and behavioral risks, it is important to document details and strategies in the PCP risks and restrictions section. Complete all required fields and then click Save in the top right corner. I'm going to go ahead and click on Save. You get a success message that the record has been created. You can now go ahead and click on Submit. Please note that if the completed CSQ does not meet the required standards, then the following pop-up message will display as a response from the LTSS system, indicating that the site is not in compliance. It will state the result of this community setting questionnaire indicates that the address does not meet the definition of a community setting. Would you like to submit for review of the provider so the Maryland Department of Health can either confirm or overturn the result? If the CCS disagrees with the generated decision, they may request a CSQ decision review from the RO to review and decide if the site complies. The regional office may override LTS's decision when the CSQ demonstrates the right decisions that are supported by an approved behavior plan, nursing care plan, and other supporting documentation, or the provider has an approved community settings transition plan. This option is only available under the Community Pathways waiver. In these two situations, the review of the supporting documentation submitted by the CCS may provide rationale for overriding the system-generated decision. As you see, I have now logged in as a DDA Regional Program Supervisor, and I do have the ability to make a decision based on whether the CSQ demonstrates the right restrictions that are supported by an approved behavior plan, nursing care plan, and other supporting documentation, or based on the provider has an approved community settings transition plan. Once I review, I can choose to either submit my decision or request clarification if I have any questions on the CSQ. I'm going to go ahead and click on decision. Go ahead and click on yes. Now the status of the CSQ is in submitted. We can also see that the provider has been added to the Day Community Settings Questionnaire section. This provider is active and has the qualities of a community setting. Let's go back to the PCP and just review it. As you see on the PCP, I am in the Service Authorization section. I see the service has been successfully added. After filling out the Community Settings Questionnaire, once we navigate back to the PCP Service Authorization page, you will see that the answers have changed after filling out the Community Settings Questionnaire for dehabilitation. Has the Community Setting Questionnaire be completed? Now notes yes. Meets definition of community settings? Now notes yes. And the last completion date shows the date. To summarize the webinar, we reviewed the process to complete a residential community settings questionnaire and a day community settings questionnaire. A CSQ is required when a provider is selected for the PCP to be submitted. The CCS edits an existing CSQ and creates a new CSQ by navigating to the CSQ form under the Case Management tab or by directly navigating from the PCP. If the CCS disagrees with the generated decision, they may request a CSQ decision review from regional office to review and decide if the site complies. This concludes our webinar for the day and the residential community settings questionnaire form. Thank you.